excellent.
Well, welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast. Today is a special guest episode, and I cannot wait for you to meet him. We're talking to Vance Morris. Vance was a former birth control factory security guard who actually became a really important part of Disney. See, Vance was a part of designing, opening, and operating Chef Mickey's, which is Disney's flagship character dining experience. Some of you may have experienced that at your vacation with Disney. But since leaving Disney, he's experienced the ups and downs of owning and operating his own personal businesses like many of us. But ultimately, he's helping others find success. And he does this through his Deliver Service Now coaching and consulting, all the lessons that he learned from Disney. Now, his clients, the people he's worked with, include Tyson, NASA, the Rainforest Cafe, even the executive office of the President of the United States. He's worked with the Smithsonian and at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Some really incredible experience. So it's going to be a great conversation. I want to encourage you to stick around and learn from Vance. So welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast, the podcast for whatever business is on your mind. Let's get started.
Well, that's excellent.
Well, Vance, thank you for being a part of the Mind Your Business podcast. I'm so excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a little bit of fun today. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited for all of our listeners and those watching to hear a little bit of your story and a little bit of your journey to where you are today. You're doing some really incredible things, but from security guard to Disney leader. Now that's not something that you hear every single day. Everyone's got a story and everyone's got a journey, but just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got here.
Yeah, it is quite a leap. I get that. And I will guarantee you, I am probably the only birth control factory security guard that you will meet all day today. I don't think you're going to get another one. But no, it was one of my jobs when I was working through college. A buddy of mine and I were, just trying to make a few bucks over the summer. So that was one of the things we did. I say it because it's instructive a lot for marketing purposes. It's, what can you say that you're going to stand out a little bit? People are going to remember. It's not plain and vanilla and things like that. So as weird as it might sound, again, it's instructive because, people are going to now kind of remember that. But I did spend a little over a decade working for the Mouse, Walt Disney Company down in Orlando. I was on their opening team for a number of their resorts and attractions and restaurants. And I am living proof that you can leave that company and still survive. When it's not like, the Russians are going to come after you if you try to escape Russia and defect. The Mouse doesn't come after you. So
there's no mouse around every corner. I'm
exactly.
Assuming.
Well, actually, if you look at the T-shirts and baseball hats, there is a mouse on every corner.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Nobody coming to get me. But I was happy that was really my first job out of college.
So was that a dream? Was that a goal for you? Or was this interaction, this intersection with Disney, was this an accident, happy accident? What?
Yeah, this was a very happy accident. Very happy accident. My one of my buddies from college was a recruiter for Disney, and I was living in Western Massachusetts at the time, which there's nothing there. No offense to any listeners from Western Mass, but and I called him up. I said, "Look, I'm just tired of the cold weather and the snow and everything. What do you got for me?" And he said, "Come on down."
Wow.
That was the extent of my interview with the Disney company, which I don't think you'll
incredible.
get away with today.
So what did you spend your time doing? You named several teams and some things that
Yep.
you were a part of. What was maybe the best experience or the most learning? What did you gain from some of the most really incredible things you did?
Yeah, I think as boring as it may sound, but it's vital to any business, is that Disney runs on systems and processes. yes, we learned how to pick up trash and smile and take pictures of people and all that kind of stuff. But when we were opening up the Yacht and Beach Club Resort, and this was like in 1990, this was before computers, before telephone. Everybody had a phone in their hand and everything. And we walked into the training room, and there's just these mountains and mountains of binders everywhere, 3-inch thick binders. And I'm like, what is all this? And my boss said, well, these are all of the SOPs and OJTs on how to open and operate a Disney resort. And you want to change a bus tire? They got a system for it. You want to carry a tray in a restaurant? There's a system for it. And I really carried that lesson through my next, after I left Disney, for, another 10 years or so in corporate world. And then, the 19 that I've been on my own, what I found is systems give you freedom. So at Disney, if you followed the system, it gave your brain freedom to be able to do all of the nice things that Disney's known for, scooping up the ice cream cone, making a kid smile, do autographs and all that kind of stuff. But in business, here in Maryland, I still own 3 home service businesses. And I put systems and processes in place, marketing system, operation system, you name it. And I was able to put a general manager in place. And now I spend 90 minutes a week on those businesses because I put systems in. So it gave me freedom to come and go from the businesses as I wanted to.
That's incredible. I love that because I do, as you said, believe systems create freedom. They're the guardrails that keep us in alignment. And most people, I'm surprised, they skip that. As it's the most foundational thing, but they skip that and just go to the fun stuff, But really, it is the systems that keep you, in alignment to what you're there to do. So your time at Disney was obviously influential in your life. It added some things for you to go out, sort of replicate and put into your own work ethic. But you didn't go straight into the coaching that you're doing today. Just what you said, you still own some business, but you spent quite a bit of time doing that, your own business, working for yourself. What was that transition coming out of Disney? What said, hey, I've got to leave this massive dream of a job and I'm going to go do it for myself? That's what most people.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, what I'm just thinking, that's what most people are probably thinking, man. He's at Disney. He's in the middle of the systems. He's doing some really cool things. Why leave? Why go do it for yourself?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that kept me around Disney as long as, 10 years for me is like 15 lifetimes. But one of the things that kept me around Disney was I was on creative teams and opening teams. So I was able to build stuff and then move on to another project. And then I ended up, my last job there, I was in the position for like 3 years. I was just like ready to kill somebody. And I started to realize also that I make a lousy employee. I just don't like to be told what to do. So probably why I also have 2 ex-wives, because, anyway. So the transition came real easy. I got a job after Disney, managed to get myself fired from that. And I got another job after that one, managed to get myself fired from that one. I used to say I was laid off, but I own it now. It doesn't bother me. I said, well, you know what? You don't like taking direction from, people that just, you don't think are like smart, for lack of a better word. So I said, you know what? Let's stop all the nonsense. And, I did what every small boy dreams of doing, and I opened up a carpet cleaning business.
That's incredible. So you're leaving Disney. Now you're running your own business, cleaning carpets. What in the process did you just see a lot of dirty carpets at Disney and you got good at what sparked that to say of all the things, this is it?
Yeah, no, I looked at a lot of, from a hospitality background, I looked at a lot of restaurant concepts and things like that I could get into. A lot of them really required a lot of liquid cash, 2 million liquid cash. I just didn't have that laying around. So I said, okay, well, what can I afford to open and operate? And I looked at in my area and where I am on the East Coast, we have a lot of pockets of affluence and a lot of pockets of, $2, 10, $20 million homes. And, well, I knew from my Disney time that, well, affluent people like experiences. They like being taken care of, and being able to get things that they can't get anywhere else. And I looked at the marketplace to see what kind of services would be that were lacking at the time, and a high end premium service in the cleaning world was not there. So I think one of the things that's also instructive about how I started the business is that I focused on acquiring only affluent homeowners. I didn't go after renters or, big apartment complexes. Somebody else can clean those. I knew that if we were going to make a sustainable business, that I was going to go after the affluent and charge the appropriate premium level pricing. And that's what really set us apart. I mean, people call up and, they ask how much, because we don't compete on price. They would like, hey, you don't have prices on your website. Yes, I know. I do that for a reason. And, once we talk to them a little bit, sometimes we would even say, we're probably not quite the right cleaner for you. Let me give you a phone number to somebody else that you'll be happy with. So it's painful to turn business away. But when you're setting your brand up, when you're setting up your system and how you're going to go, your marketing is designed to do two things: attract the people you want to do business with and repel the people you don't. And so once we understood that, I didn't have any problem turning business down, but it was easier to turn, stuff down and able to build it into what we have today.
I love that. I think what you just said, wow, is so much for so many people who are out there struggling, trying to do it. And I do think that's a trap for a lot of people. They go, I've got to get everybody. And they're
Right.
working themselves to death and still trying to figure out why they can't get ahead. They're putting in the time. It's not for a lack of work ethic. It's not for a lack of time of advertising and doing all the things that you mentioned. But there's something about defining who you are, what your business is, and who your target audience is, and then being convicted by that and let that be your motivating factor of the way you work, plus the systems that you talked about.
Right.
So I can see how your brain thinks. I can see your strategy in what you're doing. So tell me now, we're going to fast forward. I think for the last 19 years, you've been coaching and leading other organizations to do exactly what you've done. And what I really love about what you're doing is that Disney experience. You're sort of infusing that, I guess the culture of it, the systems, the impact they've had, with the experience that you've lived in building successful businesses and now helping other organizations replicate that. So just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and how you're helping other people.
Yeah. So if you look at all of our businesses, we are all in commodity businesses. I mean, a dentist is a dentist is a dentist. There's only so many ways you can clean teeth, right? One or two. And so what separates one dentist from another? And it's the experience that they deliver, whether it be in the chair, in the office, reception area, whatever. And so I really work with clients on, let's bring your personality into your business. Doesn't matter what it is. And a lot of guys and gals seem to think that if they sound big, they sound corporate-y, they're going to be better off. And if you're a local business, that's about the worst thing you could do, because people like to do business with the guy from around the corner. So we try to bring their personality in. I have a dentist client who is now what we call the pirate dentist. And, when we started working with her, we asked her, okay, what are your big challenges and things like that? She goes, look, all I got is insurance billing. I'm getting killed on that. I'm working a lot. All I get are these, whatever insurance sends back to us. I really don't like it. And I'm probably thinking of quitting the profession. I said, okay, well, you called me for a reason. So let's see if we can't turn that around. I suggested to her, I said, well, have you ever thought about going private pay? Just skip the insurance altogether. And she kind of turned little spark went off. And then we did a little more research, and I said, okay, so what's your favorite movie? And she says, Peter Pan. And so, long story short, what we did was we turned her into the pirate dentist. She dresses like Captain Hook, with the curls, and she walks around the office saying "arg," and all of her little dental assistants are like little Mr. Smees running around. And she became a pediatric dentist. So, talking about who your target market is, and she stopped taking insurance. So right off the bat, she was $150,000 more profitable because she was able to eliminate 2.5 positions that all they did was insurance billing. So those are gone. She sets her own schedule. She sets her own pricing, and she has got a line out the door. When was the last time you heard anybody say, I can't wait to go to the dentist?
No, nobody's rushing to the dentist.
That conversation never happens at anybody's dinner table, But here, people are looking forward to go because there's an experience to be had. The kids are enjoying it. Parents enjoy it. And once you're 18, you're out. And they make room for somebody else. So, it's really tying those experiences from yourself, because nobody else can have your experience. So, all right, let's not do pirates. So maybe you like fishing, or, I don't know, maybe you go deer hunting, or, your Lego, I don't know. But you bring that stuff in, and you can really start to build your brand that's going to separate you from every other commodity business that's out there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. One of the things that I love that you say is that, the customer experience isn't fluff, it's strategy. And I think that's a pretty powerful statement. And just what you're saying there, you help turn a business around that's competing with everyone else in really a role that no one wants to interact with. Nobody's want to go to the dentist, and now you've got people lined out the door, which that's brilliant. But let me ask you this. How do you infuse that into businesses that maybe are a little harder to find that niche? Sure. You got kind of a corporate flair of some, company somewhere, and they're worried about this or that, and they can't walk around dressed like pirates. How do you do that in a more subdued way, but you still give that experience and that personality?
Yeah, sure. So, I work with a lot of varying niches, professional services, financial advisors, and attorneys. And then I also work with, home service businesses similar to mine. And the first step to really figuring this out is doing your customer journey and mapping it out. It's vital. People always want to skip that because it's boring, but it's vital to the success of any systems that you're going to put in. And you look at it from the point of view of your customer or client. And so what is that first touch point a client has with you? Is it a telephone? Is it a web form? Is it, walking into your office? Okay, great. What happens next from the customer's point of view? Do they wait? Do they walk around? Do they check out something? Great. What's the next one? And you just go all the way through to the end. Then what you do is you identify those touch points that you will have the most impact on, and you'll get the most bang for your buck. Whether it be time saved, money earned, etc. Say, okay, where can we improve? So let's say it's that first one, and let's say it's answering the telephone. People, I will tell everybody, if you answer your phone live, you are like light years ahead of everybody else, because everybody's got that stupid bot that answers the phone. So you have a competitive advantage if you're answering the phone live. And if you don't, make the option 1 connection to a human. I don't want to be punching the 0 button 100 times trying to get to somebody real.
Yeah, that's right.
So you take each one of those touch points and you figure out, how do we make an experience out of that? So a lot of my businesses that I work with, the customer has to wait, right? They're waiting in the lobby, or they're waiting in your reception area for you or for their appointment. Okay, well, what do we do to make that wait not feel so bad? And or can we entertain them and educate them while they're sitting there and create an experience? So I worked with a financial advisor a couple of months ago, and she used to offer. My first time I visited the office, the receptionist offered me a cup of coffee, and it came out in one of those little 4-ounce white styrofoam cups, and gave you a little powdered sugar packet to dump, or a creamer packet to dump in there. I'm just like, oh God. And she was a top tier. I mean, she was charging buku bucks for her services.
Wow.
It was incongruent. There was nothing congruent about that coffee cup and her pricing. I said, look, I said, what can we do? I said, do you have water here? She goes, no, we really, we gallon jug in the fridge. We can pour somebody a cup. I said, okay, let's straighten this out. So we literally put together a menu. On one side of the menu were bottles of water. So you have your choice of 6 bottles of water, both still and sparkling. And then on the other side, you have all of the coffee drinks that they can make, because everybody in the office is trained on the espresso machine. So now you come in, you're presented with a menu like at a steakhouse, one of those real thick, heavy menus. And you got the water on one side, coffee on the other. And you now feel like you are in a restaurant or a good cafe, and they're taking your order for you. Now, I mean, there's a big difference between that and sitting there with the little styrofoam cup.
Those are the things that people write about and tell
100%.
friends about.
Oh, yeah.
That nobody, like you said, who walks into most places, sits in a waiting room, gets the little coffee, cup over there, a little cold coffee off the pot, pours them and tells anybody about that.
Yep.
But to walk in and be handed a menu and to have all the different options, like that's something that you will share. And that's the cheapest form of advertising you can have. And still the best, by the way, word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love what you're doing, because I have a kinship with you, and I believe it's the little small details. I'm hearing you talk about, changing the environment, the experience of a whole entire company that makes them more profitable, by the way.
100%.
And, I think what most people would anticipate you saying is maybe talking about technology, or how they could implement AI, or how they could use all of these amazing systems that I know that you have all figured out. But what you're saying is be a person that answers the phone.
Yep.
Show some hospitality. Do you feel like, and maybe this is just me in the work that I do in the organizations that I see, do you feel like it's the outdated, what some would say maybe antiquated things that are missing the most and can make the most difference today?
Yeah, 100%. I always like to say, what would grandma do? I mean, would your grandma approve of this? Would you say this to your grandmother? I was reading I caught a podcast earlier this week. And I'm writing an article about it, rebutting everything. And this guy was talking about how the discovery of emotional connections in business. And I'm like, this is not a discovery. Walt Disney knew this, 7,500 years ago. He says, I know if I make an emotional connection with my audience, I got them for life, right? And so you want to create those little connections, because big companies are not doing it. Goodyear's not doing it. Walmart's not doing it. But if you can do it in your business,
That's right.
Create an emotional connection during the service or while they're consuming your product, and then nurture that connection after the service. So that's where everybody kind of forgets stuff is, okay, they consumed our product, we delivered our service, and then we forget about them. We don't do anything to continue to not only market to them, but to maintain the relationship. And that's, I mean, it's more expensive. I mean, this, it's more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep one. My home service business, I just got the October numbers, $136 for me to get a new customer in the front door. 136 bucks. That's not cheap,
Right.
But if you look at my cost and I actually am considered a cost, the investment to keep one cost me $22 a year to keep a customer.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, every time I clean for an old customer, I'm $100 more profitable because I didn't have to go out and get them again. And so many people just forget that all the money is in your list or in your, your community that you've already put together. And,
Yeah.
They're more willing for upsells, cross sells, new products, new services, because they've already bought from you and they're used to it. So
Yeah.
that I, I ask guys, I'll say, do you have a marketing budget? And most people will say yes. And then I'll ask them, okay, well, how much of that budget is attributed to customer retention? Look at me like I got three heads, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't get it. So I think that's really the big part when you're talking, you have all the technology, and the technology certainly helps.
That's
You
right.
got to have a good CRM. If you don't trying to do any of this, you're going to drive yourself nuts with a 3x5 card or an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But that stuff is supposed to support and make your employee's job, your job easier so that you can deliver a much better experience.
Yeah, I think that's the benefit of AI as well. I don't think AI is something that should be rejected, but I think all of the technology that we have, the systems and the resources, what it should be doing is freeing us up from things that take us away from people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if the focus is on people and the customer experience and the customer service, the way that we're treating the customer. See, we worry about the product, we worry about the production, we worry about the numbers and all the metrics but really none of that exists without people. And so when you put value on people, and you remember that people design, people make, people deliver, people service, without the people, the products don't even matter. It
Right.
doesn't matter. And so I love what you're talking about building that relationship, letting them know that you didn't forget them. It wasn't just a transaction that was taking place, but it's a relationship that's being built. So let me ask you a question. Let's say someone is out there, they're just struggling today, and they have this first interaction with you, and they're saying, hey, could you give me a few tips? Like what could I start doing today that, little tweaks like this that you think would make a difference? Because, when you're in the middle of it, it's almost like being in the middle of like a hoarder's house. You don't even know where to start,
Yep.
getting rid of all the stuff and cleaning
Yep.
out. So where would you tell them to begin first?
I would, it's not sexy, but start with your customer journey, because that's going to show you exactly what and where you can start to create experiences. And they don't have to be, expensive. They don't even have to cost anything. I mean, my pirate dentist, yeah, she invested some stuff into, decorating the office and wardrobe for her, folks. But, you can do stuff, for free. Just how you answered the telephone. I had an insurance agent. He was an Allstate guy, and he was in a larger city. There's probably like 9 or 10 other Allstate agents, plus all of the other insurance guys. And he couldn't stand out. I mean, it was a commodity. And so we looked at his customer journey and said, okay, what can we do to, get you to stand out? And we were in his office, and he's got gold records and Who posters and Led Zeppelin and autographed guitars. I mean, he's just a rock and roll nut. Well, his receptionist, after we did some talking, said, well, why don't we answer the phone differently? And so normally when you call an office, you kind of get, thank you for calling Dave's Insurance. How can I help you? I mean, everybody says that, some version of it. But we got them to say, thank you for calling Dave's Allstate, the agency that rocks. Now, cost them nothing to do that. But by answering the phone that way, they're now sifting, sorting, and screening out anybody who would be a bad client, one that just wouldn't enjoy them. And the ones that think, oh, all right, this is a little different, this is cool, are now attracted to them. So it doesn't have to cost stuff. Again, go back to what grandma would do. You remember when grandma would send you $5 in your birthday card? Well, what did mom make you do? You write a thank you note. Well,
that's right.
A handwritten thank you note doesn't take long. It's not expensive. And it separates you because nobody else is doing it. It's just not. So it's those little touches that you just start to think, okay, what can I do to make this, an experience? And what can I do that is golden rule stuff, do unto others. And how would, I'm not kidding. I do. I say, okay, what would I tell my grandmother? That's the kind of stuff you have to think. That's how you approach a lot of the business problems.
Do you find that you're almost having to reprogram the thought process of people for them to see this? Do you
Oh
feel
yeah.
like you reach this, like, you said someone just kind of stared at you, just looking like, what are you talking about, when you talked about, the follow-up process with customers? Do you feel like that happens when you're talking about just these simple things that they go, there's no way that's going to work? Maybe they're let down that they decided to work with you because they expected something more. And I know it gets deeper. Let me inject that. I know there's depth and it goes a lot farther than that, but I fully believe in what you're saying here. These are the big difference makers. But do people struggle with this?
They do, and that's one of the troubles that I have in marketing my own business. Is nobody wakes up in the morning and says, my customer service really sucks. I should call Vance. Right? That conversation's not happening. So there is some education to it, but by the time they get to me, they're frustrated because they're low priced. They're highly commoditized. They're starting to burn out and think, okay, do I really want to even be doing this? Or they are at the top of the heap, and they are looking for that competitive advantage over all of the others that are at the peak of their careers or at the peak of their business lives. So they're not they're involved in the creative process. So I rattled off a few examples, but there's a whole process behind getting to that stuff. And
that's right.
What I may have mentioned is not important to you as was important to them. Maybe it's going to be something else within. Maybe it's the delivery of your product. Does it come in a little cardboard box, or do you do a custom box and have little stuff all around it to make it like an unboxing experience?
So can you give us a little insight to that? Because I love what you said. People aren't just saying, "Hey, we know our customer service. We know that these little tweaks are crippling us, so we need you to help us fix it." There's an education component that you said between you and the customers you're serving. Can you fill us in a little bit on your process about how you make those connections? Does
Sure.
this come from maybe you notice this in a chain, in a series of an industry? What is your strategy to making these connections to help these people?
Yeah, sure. So the one stat, I'm not a big stat guy, but I'll give you this one stat. They surveyed a bunch of consumers, and they said, do these companies deliver great service? And 20% said they did. When they surveyed the CEOs and presidents of those companies, 80% of them said they delivered great service. So there's a huge disconnect between what people think they're delivering and what the consumer is actually getting. That's a huge swing. So we want to work with them. Once they realize that, they're like, "Oh crap, I gotta do something." So we work with them. We do the golly, I lost my train of thought already. Sorry about that. The customer journey. And we look for those things that we can do to make it better. And really, it's just a matter of brainstorming. It's and allowing me to guide the conversation into areas that because I can't go out to dinner anywhere because I just pick the service apart. It's a true. My wife and I, we got like 2 restaurants we can go to that I know I'll enjoy myself. Because most of it is lack of attention to detail, and we're all in detailed businesses. And the details in your business, every single one of them is either enhancing or detracting from the experience. So if you got dusty houseplants and you're a medical professional, people are going to be thinking, dusty houseplant? Well, geez, are the little instruments back there, are they clean? You got a grumpy receptionist. Great. Well, that's not setting a good tone. So it's really taking the business owner and go through the business as one of your customers. There's so many doctors that never walk in their front door. They have the little secret doctor door in the back, and they go right to their office. They put their white coat on and they go see patients, and they leave the same way. They have no idea what their waiting room looks like. So take the time to go through your business as a customer. When was the last time you secret shopped your answering service? When was the last time you went through your entire purchasing process on the your website. I mean, yeah, those things break all the time. I mean, it's those little gremlins go in there and snatch up, the discount button or this 404 error or whatever it is. You got to check those things. You got to check those details, because while one of them is not going to be, a deal breaker, if you add up like 10 little, what I call road bumps or impediments to service or impediments to the sale, now you've got the sales prevention department working in your business, and you don't want that.
Yeah, that's right. The customer experience comes down to the details. It's the little things that no one else sees. And I find myself when I'm in, just like you, and I'm out somewhere in a store or something, I'm noticing all these little things. And so I will actually take the time to write a few things down because, for example, I was in a local chain restaurant, a little fast food joint, and new to our community. They've been here for probably a year where I live, and it was just the worst experience. We tried it twice, and it was the worst experience. So I looked up this chain across our metro area, and they had the lowest rating of all of them. And so it signified there's a problem right here specifically to this one. So I sent an email off to the franchise owner of this, or I looked up to where they opened it up, who it was, and contacted, and just said, hey, look, I just want to let you know, because most people are just going to complain about and not come back. They're going to leave you a bad review. But I wanted to give you some things that I noticed specifically why I was there and what I feel is lacking. And they offered, their apologies and free food. I said, no, I don't need the free food. But if I was the owner of this, I would want to know. Yeah. And so I find myself doing that on both giving feedback and then praise when I see something that's good. Yep. I was in a chain store buying some framing, and I needed some help, and the store didn't have what I needed. And the girl that was helping me, she said, you know what? I live next to one of these stores. I'll go by there tomorrow. I'll pick it up for you and bring it here for you. I mean, she offered to go shop for me. Yep. And of course, I said, thank you. I didn't allow her to do it, but I found her manager, and I said, I need you to know this girl needs to be recognized. I mean, she's really going above and beyond. So it is in the details that make the difference. And I have shared both of those stories to countless numbers of people, because it is just this lack of detail, lack of care for the customers, or organizations who aren't really investing in the people who are creating a Disney experience for all of their customers. Right. So I just want to say to you, thank you for what you're doing, because it is so needed. I hope every person reaches out to you and says, Vance, how can you help me? I need your help. I want to increase my bottom line, but I want to do it by being good to people. And I want to do it by making the people and the places I go better than I found them. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. So just tell us how, if we could benefit from your services, how could somebody find you, reach out to you? What's the process that you would take somebody through?
Yeah, well, certainly, and we just talking a little bit about the, the folks that, may not be, quite ready financially to, do all the stuff we talked about. It is find the small things. And so I created a document for people. It's called 52 Ways to Wow Your Customer Without Breaking the Bank. And it's one wow a week for you. You're covered for the rest of the year. And it's low or no cost ways to create those experiences and create little wows for your customers. And you can get that at wow52ways.com. So WOW and then 52ways.com. We'll get you there. That'll get you in touch with me. And you're going to get some stuff that you can, literally you download it, you pick one thing and you go and you implement it and you do it. And then you go on to the next one. Or you can go visit my website, which is vancemorris.com.
That's incredible. I've got all of those links in the show notes, so you can go click on that. Make sure that you get that document, 52 Ways to Wow in your business, because every single business needs to be giving a wow right now. We're not competing on product or price anymore. We're competing with people. That's what it's about today and what we're doing to make a difference. So, Vance, man, thank you. This has been a pleasure. It's been a joy, and I wish you nothing but continued success as you're making a difference out there and giving a good customer experience.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I certainly appreciate it.
A big thanks to Vance for sharing with us today. Be sure to check out all of his links in the show notes below so that you can connect with all that he has going on. And if you found this episode helpful, hit the like button so that YouTube will know, subscribe so you can join the conversation, and be sure to share it with a friend so that they can join us. And of course, if you're listening from wherever you get your favorite podcast, please leave a review. This helps us add as much value to as many people as possible. Now go and give a wow moment to those around you. Mind your business, and I'll see you on the next one.